Broncos Country, listen up. While the national pundits dismiss Denver as mere cannon fodder in this AFC showdown, they are dead wrong. A secret weapon is quietly coming together in the background. Once you see the full picture assembling, you will realize why this squad might just be the most lethal underdog remaining in the bracket. Before we break down the most overlooked storyline of the playoffs, smash that like button if you are riding with the Broncos until the end. And if you trust this team to shock the nation on Sunday, drop a comment below shouting, "Go Broncos." Come 2026, we return stronger than ever. All right, let's get into it. The intel I am about to drop could fundamentally shift how you view this playoff landscape. Let's cut the fluff. The scoreboards are lying. Sure, the Patriots hung 28 on Houston, but that number is total smoke and mirrors. Dig deeper and you find 5 turnovers gifted by CJ. Stroud's crew 4 on the quarterback and a fumble from the backfield. One of those mistakes went straight back to the house for 6 points. That means New England's offense really only scrapped together 21 points max, which is generous considering 9 drives went for 13 yards or less. Some possessions actually lost ground. That is not a juggernaut firing on all cylinders. That is an offense surviving on a fluke performance. And speaking of liabilities, let's look at Drake Maye. Critics hype his deep ball, but the guy is a turnover machine. 6 fumbles across just 2 postseason games. You think Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper missed that on the film? This is the matchup edge rushers dream about. Ears pinned back, hunting a quarterback who holds the rock too long behind a shaky offensive line. That brings us to the biggest mismatch, Will Campbell. The Patriots' left tackle is a liability, and the scouts knew it back in college. Lacking length, built like a guard, yet forced to play tackle. Now he is tasked with protecting Maye's blind side against arguably the deepest rotation of pass rushers in the league. Bonito, Cooper, Jonah Ellis, and potentially a returning Drew Sanders are ready to feast. Campbell is already getting torched by average rushers, including Raiders defenders most fans cannot even name. If he struggles in a quiet home stadium knowing the snap count, imagine the disaster waiting at Mile High with 70,000 fans screaming. He won't hear himself think, let alone stop Bonito from wrecking the game. Also, the Patriots are flying in just 1 day before kickoff. Science dictates it takes 24 to 48 hours to even start adjusting to the altitude. That isn't just an oversight, it is a fatal tactical error. Buffalo arrived earlier and still looked completely gassed by overtime. New England is walking into a suffocating, thin air trap with 0 acclimatization. That altitude will hit them hard. On top of that, Denver is locking the stadium down. No tickets for anyone without a local zip code. Expect a sea of orange, a legitimate home field advantage we have not seen in ages. Last week, we fought 10 to 15,000 Bills fans in our house. This week, it will be pure Broncos country, wall to wall. Remember Josh McDaniels, one of the most despised figures in Denver history, is standing on that Patriots sideline calling plays. If you don't think that pours gasoline on this defense's fire, you haven't been paying attention. Switching to our attack, Jarrett Stidham remains under center, and the mystery around him is actually our trump card. Nobody has a blueprint on how to game plan for him right now. He commands respect from guys like Max Crosby, who called him a warrior willing to push the ball downfield. New England even tried to sign him in the offseason. He is dangerous, and this staff believes in him. The injury news is also swinging our way. The return of wide receiver Brandon Johnson isn't just a depth move, it is a signal. The Broncos cut a practice squad lineman, suggesting starting center Luke Wattenberg is finally back from injured reserve. That is a massive boost for an offensive line that has been patched together with tape lately. But there is more. Pat Bryant, one of Bo Nix's favorite targets, posted a cryptic story captioned "I am spinning" with the song "Get Back." That is as close to a confirmation as we get that he has cleared concussion protocol. J.K. Dobbins also hinted at his comeback with a vintage jersey post and an arrow pointing forward. Do not forget what Bo Nix achieved last week. 33 points on a tough Buffalo defense, despite losing 2 top receivers early. That proves how masterfully this offense is designed and how lethal it remains regardless of injuries. The national media is painting this Patriots game as a long shot for Denver. But every single detail behind the scenes points in the exact opposite direction. With every strategic edge from field position to thin air, plus a deafening stadium and reinforcements arriving, this isn't an ambush. It's a full-blown catastrophe heading New England's way. Just one final detail before we close this segment involving a Broncos representative who scrapped a press meeting, insisting it happen next week instead. When pressed on the scenario of a loss, the rep cut it short, declaring, "That is simply not taking place, brother. We have to keep this train moving because this narrative is just getting started." While the mainstream analysts hit snooze on Denver, The squad is operating with the swagger of a unit prepared to stun the entire league. You won't find a trace of underdog jitteriness within those facility walls. It is a silent arrogance grounded in statistics, favorable clashes, and stars aligning at the exact right moment. Consider the rarity here. You have a green signal caller in Drake Maye who has displayed sparks, sure, but strictly within the comfort of his own backyard. Now he walks into the most deafening arena in the sport, where the oxygen-starved atmosphere crushes the life out of every snap and vertical launch. And what is the core of New England's attack? They lean heavily on vertical routes, but therein lies the disaster. That is the precise zone where Denver dominates, with Pat Surtain erasing Kayshon Boutte while Riley Moss and Jaquan McMillian completely smother a declining Stephon Diggs. That is not merely a challenge. It is a tactical nightmare for New England. Listen, we can acknowledge that Maye launches a gorgeous deep ball, but those plays demand precious seconds in the pocket, and seconds do not exist when Nick Bonito is breathing down your neck instantly, and once he rests, Jonah Ellis comes screaming in fresh. Or perhaps Drew Sanders enters the fray, a monster who dropped Justin Herbert in his very first professional snap. Throw in Dondrea Tillman, and this stops being a rotation. It becomes a siege where the edge depth is terrifying. This roster was engineered for exactly this type of warfare, and here is where the plot thickens. If Will Campbell at left tackle is already battling timing issues and leverage failures in his own stadium, what occurs when the snap count vanishes? The roar swallows the audible, and his reaction lags a fatal split second behind. It is not a matter of whether they reach Drake Maye, but rather a count of the collisions. Yet, it goes beyond just pressure. This Denver defense is constructed to shatter momentum and feasts on chaos. When you pair a quarterback prone to coughing up the rock with a porous offensive line, the trap is set beautifully. And we need to offer some genuine respect to the executives upstairs as well. Acquiring Brandon Johnson was strategic chess, not just a fill-in, signaling supreme faith in Luke Wattenberg's comeback. This is not a franchise grasping for warm bodies. It is a contender locking its weapons in place for a postseason assault. We also cannot overlook the immense significance of having Bryant back on the field. Bo Nix clearly relies on him, evidenced by 3 quick strikes last week before the concussion sidelined him. That connection was heating up, and adding the explosive versatility of a returning J.K. Dobbins gives Stidham a full magazine. A signal caller nobody has a scouting report on, joined by a cavalry of playmakers stepping back into the fray. That is a coordinator's worst fear. So let us focus a bit deeper on Jarrett Stidham. Outsiders treat him like a seat warmer for Bo Nix, but that is absolutely not the sentiment inside that locker room. Max Crosby, a man who rarely offers praise, labeled Stidham a warrior, a fighter who lifts the entire squad's energy. And remember, the Patriots themselves attempted to re-sign Stidham during the offseason. That speaks volumes about the level of fear and respect he commands from the very opponent he is facing. Stidham, the ex-Patriot, facing his former colors in a showdown where the world expects him to fail. Yet he has walked this path, famously torching the league's top-ranked defense during his debut start with the Raiders. He has proven the lights aren't too bright. He won't flinch or hesitate, and that unpredictability is deadly. New England is flying blind with zero recent footage, no patterns to study, and no clear vulnerabilities to exploit. That is not merely a variable, it is a strategic weapon. And the edge here is multidimensional. We are discussing a scenario that has methodically evolved into a devastating trap for the Patriots. You do not need perfect vision to predict how this clash ends. A shaken rookie, a crumbling line, and a defense gasping for air while Denver gets stronger, sharper, and hungrier. And this singular detail reveals the entire truth. That postponed media session. An agent pushed it a week because, and I quote, "It is not happening, brother," when asked about a loss. Don't mistake conviction for ego. This is unshakable faith forged behind closed doors where the real work happens. They have witnessed this unit evolve through the fire, band together when bodies fell, and refused to break when the pressure mounted. Now, operating in the shadows with the world betting against them, they have finally found their dangerous sweet spot, discounted by the experts, underestimated by the league, and absolutely starving to shock the world. Listen up, Mile High faithful. You know the stats, you understand the stakes, and you can feel the electricity now make your voice heard. Is history about to change before our eyes as Denver gears up to crush the Patriots and bury the criticism once and for all? Sound off in the section below and let me know if you are vibing with this breakdown. Crush that like button, join the squad, and stay tuned, because I am unleashing even more exclusive coverage you cannot afford to miss. Click the videos appearing now for extra intel, and as we always say, let's ride.